Most people are going to die without ever figuring out what their life was for. Not because they didn't have time, not because the circumstances were too hard, because they were too comfortable to ever be forced to ask the question seriously, and too distracted to ask it voluntarily. That's the quiet horror of modern life, not suffering, comfort without meaning. A life that looks fine from the outside and feels like nothing from the inside. Viktor Frankl figured it out. And he figured it out in the last place on earth you'd want to learn anything. What keeps a human being going? Not what motivates them on a good day, what keeps them alive when everything, every comfort, every freedom, every person they love has been taken. The purest answer to that question is found in the worst place human beings have ever deliberately built for other human beings. Viktor Frankl, Austrian psychiatrist, philosopher, author, spent 3 years in 4 concentration camps. He was completely at the mercy of sadistic SS guards and the so-called capos, prisoners given special privileges who willingly collaborated with the Nazis and who were often even more brutal and vicious than their masters. The fact that those men chose to be worse than their oppressors when they didn't have to be, when they could have chosen differently, is one of the most disturbing details in this entire story. We'll come back to that. The camp inmates lived under conditions most people cannot hold in their minds for more than a few seconds before looking away. Constant starvation, disease, slave labor until the body broke, punishment or execution that could come at any moment for any reason or for no reason at all. There was no freedom in any real sense. The prisoners moved like a defenseless flock of sheep, kicked, beaten by their shepherds, stripped of their names, their families, their possessions, their identity, and every last shred of dignity that makes a person feel like a person. So what's left to live for in a place like that? When they've taken everything, your freedom, your possessions, everyone you love, and death at short notice is almost certain, is there any reason not to give up? Frankl's answer was yes. There is always a reason to keep living, even in the worst conditions on earth, because there is always meaning to be found, even inside suffering, even inside the unbearable. And if you can find that meaning, that single star in a pitch-black sky, you can endure almost anything. Here's what he discovered. It is not pleasure that drives human beings at their core, not success, not power, not comfort, not safety, not the absence of pain. What drives people, what keeps them alive when every single one of those things is gone, is finding something to live for, a purpose, a meaning, something worth dying for. What's the purpose of my life? What's the meaning of all this? These questions echo through everything right now. You hear them in therapy sessions, in late-night conversations, in the way people talk about their jobs and their relationships and their futures. An entire generation is asking them constantly and almost never stopping long enough to actually answer. And the reason is not complicated. We built a world whose primary function at the consumer level is to make sure you never have to sit with that question long enough to feel how badly you need to answer it. We work jobs we feel nothing about, to earn money to buy things we don't actually need as a way to dull a sense of emptiness we refuse to examine directly. Globalization, secularization, relative peace. We've lost the structures that used to give life meaning automatically. Belonging to a tribe, being part of a faith community, defending something worth defending against people who wanted to take it. Those things gave people meaning without them having to seek it consciously. The meaning was built into the structure of the life. Those structures have collapsed for most people, and in the space they left behind, we didn't go searching for real meaning, because real meaning is hard to find and even harder to commit to. Instead, we went shopping. We started measuring our lives in metrics, follower counts, salary brackets, body fat percentages, anything that gives the sensation of progress without requiring you to answer the question of what you're actually progressing toward. Before long, nihilism kicks in. What's the point? Why keep going? If nothing means anything, why put in the effort? Why care about anything? Why get out of bed? We cannot honestly compare the circumstances of a modern person in a comfortable country to a prisoner in a concentration camp. That comparison would be obscene. But here's what's strange and worth sitting with. The existential questions are identical. The reason people give up on their lives is the same in both places. No purpose, no hope, no sense that their existence is pointed at anything. When you're trapped in what Frankl called the existential vacuum, that hollow, purposeless feeling at the center of a life that looks fine from the outside, what waits for you at the bottom is despair, the same despair, different furniture. Inside the camps, Frankl kept the trained, observant mind of a psychiatrist even in hell, and he noticed something clear and measurable, a division between those who had given up on life and those who had not. The ones who had given up got sick faster, deteriorated faster, died sooner, not always because of what was done to them, but because something inside them stopped fighting before their body did. They became passive, hollow. They stopped resisting disease. They gave their food away, not out of generosity, but because they couldn't see the point of eating it. The ones who hadn't given up were more likely to survive. Not guaranteed. There were no guarantees in a concentration camp, but measurably, observably more likely to make it. The difference was not physical strength. It was not luck, though luck played its part. The difference was meaning. The discovery, inside conditions that should have made meaning impossible, of a reason to keep going. Frankl himself found his reason in being a doctor. His purpose was his patients. One day he was offered a real chance to escape the camp, a genuine opportunity. He took a few steps toward it, and then he turned around and walked back. Not because he had given up, not because he thought he'd survive anyway. He went back because his patients were still there, because he was a doctor and he could not abandon the people who depended on him. The thing his life was for, what he owed to those specific human beings, was more important to him than his own freedom and more important than his own survival. He was willing to die for it, without resentment, without drama, because he knew exactly what he was for, and that knowledge was worth more to him than escape. Think about that honestly, not as an abstract historical fact. Think about what it actually means. This man, inside Auschwitz, had a clearer and more unshakable sense of purpose than most people who have never faced anything close to his circumstances. He knew what he was for with such conviction that he refused an escape. Most people reading this right now do not know what they're for. They have preferences, they have things they want, but a purpose they would refuse an escape for, something that matters more than their own comfort and safety? Most people have never gone anywhere near that question. On the other end, Frankl watched prisoners collapse under the same conditions, and they always said the same thing every time when they stopped fighting. He quotes it directly: "There is nothing more to expect from life." Once meaning left, the body followed. Devoid of any expectation that things could improve, devoid of any sense that their existence had something left to offer or demand, they deteriorated. Not because of what the guards did, because of what they'd stopped believing. Frankl tells the story of a prisoner who had dreamed the war would end on a specific date, March 13th, 1945. He held on to that date like a lifeline. His entire will to survive was wrapped around it. When March 13th came and nothing happened, he fell apart overnight. He suddenly got sick. He died of typhus shortly after. He didn't die because of the typhus, really. He died because the last thing he had to live for turned out to be a date on a calendar the world didn't care about. He had attached his entire will to live to something external, something he couldn't control, something that could simply fail to deliver on a particular Tuesday. When it did, there was nothing underneath it, no foundation, just empty space where meaning used to be. This is not a story about naivete. This is a warning about how most people currently structure whatever sense of purpose they have. I'll find meaning when I get the relationship, when I get the job, when I move somewhere better, when things are finally different than they are now. And then things don't change, or they change and it doesn't feel the way they thought it would, and they're exactly as empty as before, just with less time left. Now here's the question that has to be asked honestly, because it's the one people use to avoid accountability. Is it fair to hold people responsible for finding meaning in conditions that are genuinely destroying them? Aren't some situations so extreme, so completely overpowering, that a person's freedom to choose their response just gets crushed? Frankl sat with that question after the war, carefully, as a survivor, as a psychiatrist, as someone who had watched the full range of human behavior inside the worst conditions imaginable. And his conclusion was, no, even there, even in that, even in the concentration camps, even under conditions specifically designed to destroy human beings physically and psychologically, people retained what he called a vestige of spiritual freedom, a small remaining fragment of independence of mind, the capacity to choose not what happened to them, but who they were going to be inside what happened to them. He writes, "We who lived in concentration camps can remember the men who walked through the huts comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Men giving away their last piece of bread, in a place where food was survival, in a place where every calorie was the difference between living another day and not. They gave it away, not because they had extra, because they had decided what kind of person they were going to be inside the situation they were in, and that decision was theirs, and nobody could reach it." The brutal capos who chose collaboration and cruelty when they didn't have to. The guards who occasionally helped inmates at personal risk when they didn't have to. The prisoners who surrendered to emptiness and the ones who didn't. They were all inside the same hell. All of them were making choices. All of those choices were real. All of them defined who those people actually were. Which means this: regardless of how terrible life is, and for some people it is genuinely terrible in ways that are not their fault, we still have to decide which direction we go. We cannot always choose what happens to us. We can always choose who we are inside what happens to us. That choice cannot be taken. It has never been taken from anyone. You can give it away, but it cannot be taken. The ruthless capos without morality, the sadistic guards with no respect for human life, the prisoners who lost their will to live, the ones who gave away their bread. Every one of them was responsible for the life they lived inside their circumstances. So are you. Do you choose to betray what matters to survive what's uncomfortable? Do you choose to surrender to a nihilistic, destructive mindset because the world you live in feels spiritually and morally bankrupt? Do you choose to become a product of your circumstances, to let what happened to you define entirely what you are? Frankl's answer is blunt. The spiritual freedom we have, which cannot be taken away from us, is precisely what makes life meaningful, even inside suffering, especially inside suffering. The way in which a man accepts his fate and all the suffering it entails, the way in which he takes up his cross, gives him ample opportunity, even under the most difficult circumstances, to add a deeper meaning to his life. Imagine waking up every morning with no meaningful long-term goal. The only reason you get up is that you have to. You go to work and do things you feel nothing about to financially support a life that doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. And in the gaps between obligations, you reach for whatever's loud enough to drown out the low-grade feeling that none of it is pointed at anything. You tell yourself it's the circumstances, the upbringing, the economy, the society. Maybe all of those things are genuinely true and genuinely unfair. None of that changes what's available to you. You can transcend the situation. The question is how. Before the how, the why. Why do most people never seriously pursue meaning in the first place? Because in the world we've built, the dominant message is that what you should be pursuing is money, status, power, and pleasure. These are not framed as compensations for meaning. They're framed as the destination itself, the successful life, the good life, the life other people can see and register as valuable. And Frankl's argument is that this has it completely backwards. The obsessive pursuit of those things is not the answer to the existential vacuum. It is a symptom of it. It's what people reach for when they've quietly given up on finding what they actually need. And it doesn't work, not because those things are worthless, but because they cannot fill the hole they're being asked to fill. They're the wrong shape. Then there's the happiness obsession, and this one does real damage. In some circles, happiness has become a requirement, not just a goal, a moral obligation. You are commanded to be happy, ordered to choose joy, And if you aren't happy, something is wrong with you that needs fixing. This is psychologically illiterate and in some cases, genuinely cruel. Frankl's position is precise. Happiness cannot be pursued. The more directly you aim at it, the more aware you become of the gap between where you are and where you want to be, and the more miserable you get. It cannot be forced. It cannot be manufactured. It has to arrive on its own as a consequence of something else entirely. One must have a reason to be happy. Once the reason is found, one becomes happy automatically. A human being is not in pursuit of happiness, but in search of a reason to become happy. Last but not least, through actualizing the potential meaning inherent and dormant in a given situation. You are not looking for happiness. You are looking for a reason to become happy. That reason is meaning. Get the meaning right, and happiness arrives uninvited. Chase the happiness, and you get neither. Success works the same way. It cannot be pursued directly. The more you fixate on it as the goal, the more your focus moves away from the actual work and onto the scoreboard. And the scoreboard will not carry you through the parts of the work that are genuinely hard. Those parts require you to care about something that exists beyond the outcome. The moment success becomes the point, you've already lost the thing that produces it. Success comes as the unintended side effect of genuine dedication to something that matters. You don't pursue it. It follows you when you stop caring about the issue itself. Meaning is at the root of happiness, at the root of real success, at the root of the feeling that your life is worth the effort of living. And the absence of meaning is at the root of the addiction to pleasure, to status, to consumption, to all the things we use to paper over the emptiness without ever touching what's actually empty. So, how do you find meaning? Frankl is clear that there is no universal formula, no one-size-fits-all answer. The question, what is the meaning of life, is asked at the wrong level. It's like asking a chess grandmaster what the best move in chess is. There is no best move. The best move depends entirely on the specific game, the specific opponent, the specific position you are in right now. The meaning of your life depends on who you are, what moment you're in, and what your specific situation requires of someone with your particular capabilities, history, and damage. It cannot be invented, it cannot be downloaded, it cannot be found by thinking about it alone in a room. You can only discover it by moving, by engaging with the world, by trying things, by paying attention to where you are genuinely useful, where what you have meets what the world actually needs. Most people are waiting to feel certain about what their purpose is before they commit to it. This is exactly backward. The certainty comes after the commitment. You do not think your way to meaning, you act your way to it. Frankl found 3 doors. The first door is through what you create or contribute, a work you make, a deed you do, a problem you solve for someone that actually matters to them, something that exists or is better because you were there. The benefit of performing a good deed doesn't require explanation, but it doesn't have to be grandiose. Frankl watched a man give away his last piece of bread inside Auschwitz. That was a profoundly meaningful act. The scale of the gesture is irrelevant. What matters is the genuine care behind it. You find out what you can contribute not by introspecting, but by engaging, by trying things and paying attention to where something clicks, where the work stops feeling like work and starts feeling like the thing you are supposed to be doing. You will not find this by waiting. You will not find it by thinking about it. You find it by going and doing and staying awake to what happens. The second door is through what you love or experience, the experience of beauty, of nature, of genuine full attention connection with another human being, not the performance of connection, not mutual validation dressed up as intimacy, but actually seeing someone outside yourself as fully real and fully worth your attention. Frankl calls this love, not romantic love specifically, the broader capacity to truly experience something outside yourself. The second way of finding a meaning in life is by experiencing something, such as goodness, truth, and beauty, by experiencing nature and culture, or, last but not least, by experiencing another human being in his very uniqueness, by loving him. The third door is the hardest one, the one most people skip entirely. Finding meaning inside suffering, not around it, not in spite of it, inside it. Frankl tells the story of an elderly doctor who came to him consumed by grief after losing his wife, devastated, unable to function. Rather than offer comfort or technique, he asked him a single question. "What would have happened, doctor, if you had died first and your wife had to survive you?" The man went quiet. Then, "For her, that would have been terrible. She would have suffered enormously."
Frankl pointed out what was already there. His wife had been spared that suffering. She didn't have to endure what he was enduring right now. The reason she was spared was that he had survived her. He was carrying it instead of her, paying the price she didn't have to pay. His grief was not separate from his love, it was his love, the same thing in the only form it had left. The man left differently, not healed, not fixed, but the suffering had not changed. What had changed was what it meant, and that change in meaning changed everything. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. When the external is fixed, when you cannot undo it, cannot recover what was lost, cannot alter the circumstances, the only available move is internal, changing what the suffering means, changing what you decide to do inside it. This is not toxic positivity. This is not pretending things are fine. This is the hardest and most important work a human being can do. Frankl's entire philosophy in one sentence, finding something to live for and sometimes to die for, transforms a meaningless, hopeless existence into a life worth living, regardless of what the world does to you. He borrowed Nietzsche for the sharpest version. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. The inverse is also true, and we see it everywhere around us right now. He who has no why to live cannot bear even a comfortable how, and that is the modern condition. An extraordinarily comfortable how, more safety, more food, more warmth, more entertainment, more everything than any generation in human history, and a catastrophic shortage of why. And so people with full fridges and warm houses and unlimited options are walking around with the same hollow look that Frankl described in prisoners who had decided there was nothing left to expect. Same absence, softer floor. The camps are not a metaphor for modern life. Do not make that mistake. The comparison in terms of physical reality would be obscene, but Frankl was not writing a book about concentration camps. He was writing a book about what happens to human beings when meaning disappears, and he used the camps because that is where he learned it. And his conclusion is this: if meaning can survive there, in that, you have no excuse for not finding it here. That's the uncomfortable truth at the center of everything he wrote. You are not in a concentration camp. You have freedoms those prisoners would have given almost everything for. You have time, you don't know how much, but neither did Frankl in the camps, and he used it anyway. What are you doing with yours? Not as a motivational question, as a real one, the most important one. What are you for? Not what you want, not what would be nice. What matters to you with enough depth and conviction that you would organize your entire life around it? What would you refuse and escape for? If you don't have an answer, that is the work, not the emptiness, not the distraction, not the anxiety. Those are symptoms. The work is the answer to that question. Everything meaningful in your life will come from it, or it won't come at all.